Amaka had never been to a party this grand before. The invitation had come through a classmate, Chuka, who always bragged about knowing the big boys in town. The venue, an exclusive, five-star hotel in the heart of Lagos. The promise, free drinks, expensive food, and a night to remember. Her best friend Ifeoma had been skeptical. "Are you sure about this, Amaka? We don't even know who is hosting this party." "Ifeoma, it's just a party, everyone is going, and I don't want to miss out. Let's just enjoy ourselves." They arrived at the hotel dressed in their finest. Amaka in a red gown that hugged her figure, and Ifeoma in a simple but elegant black dress. The security at the entrance was tight, but once they presented their invitations, they were ushered in with smiles. Inside, the hall glittered with red and gold decorations. The scent of exotic perfumes and expensive champagne filled the air. Music blasted from hidden speakers, and beautiful people swayed to the rhythm, holding glasses of fine wine. A tall man in a white suit welcomed them warmly. "You must be Amaka and Ifeoma. Please, make yourselves comfortable. The night is young." His voice was smooth, his eyes sharp, like someone used to getting his way. As the night went on, waiters in red uniforms served drinks and exotic dishes. Amaka noticed something odd. No one seemed to be paying for anything. The guests were drinking, laughing, and indulging, but there were no signs of payments or bills. Ifeoma whispered to her, "Have you noticed that no one here looks older than 30? And why is there only one exit?" Amaka brushed it off. "Maybe that's the vibe. Young, rich, and free." Then Ifeoma excused herself to use the restroom. She never came back. At first, Amaka assumed she had gotten caught up talking to someone, but after 20 minutes she started looking around. She asked a waiter, who simply smiled and said, "Don't worry, madam, your friend is fine." Amaka's stomach twisted. Something was wrong. She tried calling Ifeoma's phone, but it was switched off. She made her way toward the restroom but was stopped by two men in dark suits. "Sorry, madam, that area is restricted." "Restricted? My friend went in there." The men didn't budge. Fear crept up her spine. She turned and walked back to the main hall, forcing herself to stay calm. Then she noticed something she had missed before. There were no windows in the hall. The only entrance was the same one they had come through, and now there were guards standing in front of it. Her heart pounded. The music seemed louder, the laughter more sinister. Suddenly, the lights dimmed, and the man in the white suit walked onto a small stage. "Welcome, special guests, to a night of love, power, and renewal." His voice carried over the crowd. A group of young women, all in red, were led onto the stage. Amaka's breath caught in her throat. One of them was Ifeoma. Her friend looked dazed, as if drugged. Her hands were tied with red cloth, her eyes unfocused. "Tonight, we honor the spirits with the purest of gifts," the man continued. The crowd erupted in cheers. It hit Amaka like a slap. This was not a party. This was a ritual. The guests weren't just partygoers, they were cult members, gathered for a sacrifice. Her blood ran cold. She had to get out, but how? A group of robed figures emerged, holding a large bowl filled with thick, dark liquid. It wasn't wine. Amaka was sure of it now. Then, one of the masked figures pulled out a gleaming dagger, raising it above Ifeoma's head. Panic surged through Amaka. She had to act fast. She quickly looked around. There were no windows, no visible way to escape. The main entrance was blocked by guards, their expressions cold and unyielding. The only other doors were behind the stage, likely leading to staff rooms. She needed a distraction. Her fingers tightened around her clutch bag as she remembered her pepper spray. It wasn't much, but it was her only chance. Just as the masked figure prepared to strike, Amaka grabbed a glass of wine from a table and hurled it at one of the flaming torches on the wall. The fire caught onto the red drapes, igniting in a flash. Screams erupted as guests scrambled away from the growing flames. The sudden chaos worked in her favor. She bolted toward the stage. Jumping onto the platform, she shoved one of the robed figures aside and kicked over the ritual bowl, spilling its contents across the floor. The masked man turned toward her, momentarily stunned. Wasting no time, she pulled out her pepper spray and aimed directly at his eyes. He let out a blood-curdling scream, dropping the dagger. "Ifeoma, wake up!" Amaka shook her friend violently. Ifeoma's eyelids fluttered, her expression hazy. "Amaka?" Grabbing the fallen dagger, Amaka slashed through the red cloth binding Ifeoma's hands. "We need to go!" The man in the white suit bellowed in rage. "Get them!" The guards rushed toward them. Amaka dragged Ifeoma toward the back of the stage. There had to be a way out. Kicking open a small side door, they stumbled into a dark corridor. The air was thick with the scent of old wood and something metallic. Blood. Footsteps thundered behind them. They ran blindly through the narrow hallway, tripping over discarded objects. The corridor twisted and turned, leading deeper into the unknown. Then, Amaka spotted it. A heavy metal door at the end of the hall. It had no handle, only a bolt. She yanked it open, revealing a dimly lit stairwell. "Come on," she urged Ifeoma. They rushed down the stairs, their breaths ragged. At the bottom, another door stood slightly ajar. Bursting through, they found themselves in the hotel's underground parking lot. The cool night air was a shock to Amaka's lungs. They weren't safe yet. A black SUV screeched to a halt nearby. Two men in dark suits stepped out, their faces unreadable. Amaka's blood ran cold. But before they could grab them, a group of armed police officers stormed into the lot. Sirens wailed in the distance. Someone had called the authorities. The men in suits hesitated for a split second before retreating into the shadows. Amaka and Ifeoma collapsed onto the ground as the officers surrounded them. They were safe. The next day, news broke of the raid on the secret cult. Investigators uncovered a dark network of ritual killings linked to powerful figures. The hotel was shut down, but the man in the white suit was never found. Some said he had fled. Others whispered that men like him never truly disappeared. They simply found new victims. Lessons. Some invitations lead to joy. Others lead to the grave. Choose wisely.